It's September 28th. It's about 20 minutes before 9 o'clock. And I was talking about the man from Brown University and being in New Mexico. I think, though, that I sort of need to take a break, and I'm just realizing this now. But I might just keep talking, since this is already running and I don't want to stop it and start it again. So I might keep talking and do what I need to do, and you will be able to hear me. And then when I'm finished doing that, I will be here where you can see me again. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And don't know if I can remember to keep talking, because I feel like I'm talking to myself, especially when I'm not even looking at a camera. But I was in New Mexico, and I had never been to New Mexico before, and the weather was very nice, and the guy that I met, he asked me if instead of taking me to a truck stop or whatever, he said, would you like to stay with us and hang out with us for a little while? And I thought that was really nice. And I was sort of surprised. I don't know, sometimes, at least then, I was hitting it off. I mean, I've never had a problem getting along with people my own age, obviously, and I really sometimes was drawn, especially when I was younger, to older men, and always looked towards older men and women as mentors in different ways. But for some reason, I was able to connect with some people who were younger too, and part of that is that at that time I still weighed a little bit more, so my face was a little fatter, and I didn't have hardly any wrinkles. I was 31, but you couldn't tell. And I had my son when I was 30 or 31, and when I was in the hospital, as fat as I was, they had a social worker come over and tell me, it's really high risk for you to be a teenage mother. I mean, so I was 31, and this nurse who was new to the floor, or to the area, she thought that I was a teenager. And a teenager in the town had asked me which high school I went to one time. She thought I was a teenage mom. And because I was, I guess, because I was having to go to college a lot later than a lot of my friends and peers, because I had to wait for the whole financial aid thing to kick in and be available to me. I was going to college at a much later time, and sometimes people assumed then that I was younger, and I looked younger. And I think I acted younger sometimes. I mean, not all the time, but maybe a little bit. And so I actually had dated a lot of younger men. And it wasn't because I was picking out younger men, although this one Iranian man that I met, I kind of picked him out, and I mean, after I happened to be sitting next to him, I didn't plan it. But I had no idea he was like 19 years old or whatever. And that, because I had thought he looked a lot older. I had thought he was at least 25 or so. But the other men who approached me, I didn't choose on my own. And most of them were younger. I knew that they weren't really going to me to be their Mrs. Robinson, because I had no experience. So it was more like I was this older, I don't know, I was this older single woman student who could sometimes still connect to and look as young as younger people. So I remember that when I was then, so actually most of my boyfriends, when I was about, I don't know, anywhere from age 28 to 30 and 31, Most of them are between age 19 and 24. I don't think that I dated anybody who was older than that, which is really weird, actually. But again, I didn't really choose to have it that way. And so when I met this 19-year-old in New Mexico, it was kind of the same thing. I had no idea what his age was, and he didn't know what mine was, but we kind of hit it off. And then he asked me if I wanted to hang out with him and a couple people he knew. So since I thought I could take a quick break and try to figure out where I was going for sure and how I was going to get there and have a strategy, and also maybe find out if I could pick up a few days work somewhere, you know, doing, like, I don't know, sometimes random things will come up and people will say, can you babysit, and I'll give you $20, you know, for a couple hours, or do you want to help me out with something in the restaurant or on my property, and they'll give you a little bit of money. So I didn't know if maybe something like that might turn up, and it didn't. But the thing is they were treating me like a house guest, and I had a place to stay, and I was kind of tired already. I was exhausted from what had just happened with that hearing, and then basically fleeing for my life because I was positive that the next thing in store for me was going to be being locked up in an institution, just, you know, because all of the other laws were being broken. So then he introduced me. I said, okay. And we actually looked around at some stores, some very nice stores in a part of New Mexico. I really loved the weather there. It was beautiful. And I guess with the stores, I can't remember what it was about it. I don't know, he was sort of artistic. He had a lot of ideas, and he talked very fast. He was a very fast talker. I don't think it was just because he had snorted whatever he snorted, but he was just naturally a fast talker, I believe. And then he introduced me to the woman that he was hanging out with because he wasn't getting along with his family or something, or they were sharing a place. And I sort of thought maybe they had something going on. I thought he was attracted to her, but I never saw anything at all between them. And he seemed